Hello, I'm Jeff Popovich of My Foodie Adventures. Two Michigan chefs are representing our state on the national food stage, featured in Food Network's latest cooking competition challenge, 24 in 24, Last Chef Standing. I sat down with executive chef Gabriella Baldwin at her restaurant Testa Bara in Macomb to learn more about her latest adventure with the Food Network and what's ahead in her culinary endeavors.
All right, so Gabriella, we're here to talk pretty similar to the stuff we discussed, yesterday on CBS Detroit, and that's regarding your latest Food Network competition cooking show endeavor, 24 in 24. So start off by just telling me a little bit about how you kind of got roped into this latest project and what the process was to get involved.
It's definitely a world that you have to be kind of kooky enough to jump into, but I actually did not go seeking it. It found me, thankfully, about 5 years ago. And that's when my journey first started on Triple G, Guys Grocery Games. And I'd won that. And I really grew a hunger to keep on going on these wild competition shows. So fast forward to 24 and 24, it's my sixth appearance. And by far the most daring, the coolest, most talented culinary crew. And it was just a wild ride and a great experience.
So I know from at least the first episode, it seems like a huge production, a huge area.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like being on that level of a cooking competition show in this massive scale setup?
You go into these things and you know that you're up against something that's much larger than yourself. But when you walk on a set of that magnitude, there are triple the amount of camera guys than the normal production, triple the amount of culinary producers and other producers and stagehands and crew, let alone you're walking into this giant scenario with this huge clock, that's reading 24 hours. So it wasn't overwhelming, it was exhilarating, but it was definitely so much larger than anything I'd ever done.
And what was it like when you're in, that arena, as it were, with like this clock ticking down, doing these challenges? Did time really seem to go by like really quick, like 24 hours and boom?
Yeah, time flew. You get, the minute they give you your challenge, you get the amount of time that you have to execute it. But each minute goes from feeling like 60 seconds to feeling like 30, especially because you're splitting that time of execution with thinking. And I think the viewer doesn't necessarily know that unless we say it. Like, we are thinking about what we are going to execute, planning it actively as we are grabbing things, and we are actively creating this dish. So that's where that time seems split in half. And you have to be really methodical on what you decide to do, because as you've seen in a lot of other shows, and including this one, if you don't get it to the plate, it doesn't exist, and then you don't make it. So you're like, okay, I want to be great and I want to create something that's like incredible, but if I am too ambitious and I bite off more than I can chew, then I won't make it to the next level. So.
And when you were competing, what were some of the challenges that you faced, or what were some highlights from your time when you were in the kitchen cooking?
The arena, no.
Yes, the arena.
The arena is a great way to put it. It was like gladiator style. Some of the difficulties were definitely like when Esther Choi and Michael Simon did the teaser, like the trailer for this. They were talking about how on a normal show, culinary gets to come in and reset a station and help you reset to get to the next challenge. With this, the clock is running, the cameras are running, so that reset time doesn't exist. So that was definitely like a totally different structure than I was used to. 6 times later, having the same structure, and then all of a sudden this is the biggest arena and there's no time to reset. It's just go. Somebody's gone, you don't even know who's still there, and the judges are out tasting everybody's food, and it's just like complete organized chaos, what we call it in the restaurant industry. I think what was cool was I love speed. So starting out with a speed competition, I was like, sick, I'm here for it. Let's go. my culinary school tools come into action then. We practice a lot on our knife cuts and we hone in on, speed and accuracy. But then that one-to-one challenge where you're fighting for your station and you have to beat out that other competitor to win the station, put me in a one-on-one scenario and I'm hyped. So I really enjoyed that. Like out the gate, that was my first challenge. I'm here for it.
And what did it feel like to be representing, Michigan as, one of the two representatives of our state on this show?
To represent the glove, it was really amazing because, I'm from New York, right? I'm a transplant here from New York about 10 years ago. I didn't know much about Michigan, not gonna lie, before I came here. Once I visited, I fell in love with it. I think it's so much more diversified than people understand. And when they really come here, they can experience that. The culinary roots. I'm excited because there's another project that my father-in-law, Chef Jeff Baldwin, is working on. And it's a documentary showcasing like the original, the OG bad boys, right? They were the bad boys, the Pistons in Detroit. And they were the bad boys, the culinary bad boys that started and kicked off this this culinary journey that grew in Detroit and has now blossomed into James Beard nominees and awards and incredible restaurants. And, now we're a destination, Detroit, come and dine. So being a part of that growth in the last decade, I feel like there's a passing of the torch. And although this isn't my birth home, this is where I chose to raise my family. So I feel honored.
And with where things are currently, do you think with the scene the way and the rate at which it's growing, we'll see more recognition? We have two chefs that are up for James Beard Awards in June.
Yeah.
It just kind of seems like people are paying more attention to Michigan, its culinary scene, and most importantly, its chefs.
Yeah. I think there are great things ahead for Michigan and Metro Detroit specifically, just because we're here. In the future, with those nominations up ahead, with people staying more true to what their scope is. So I feel like we went from really generalized restaurants in the past, and now we're moving towards like, the Alpinos and the Takois, and now we're opening up Oro, and I'm sure we'll touch upon that. There are more specialized experiences that really show a chef's perspective for what she or he, is breeding out of their mind and their creative palette, but in their scope specifically.
So I wanted to ask another question before we get to sort of looking at what's ahead for you and everything.
I love it. Ask away. I already love these questions. First of all, they're firing me up.
Not just the coffee.
Yeah.
But,
that helps.
We were discussing the other day, we didn't mention it on TV, but, the idea that a recent Food Network chef had released a book where she noted the fact that, back in the early days, one of the things that really helped kind of launch that network was its cooking show format, where it was just chefs showing people how to make certain dishes, or whether they be specialized or popular. And it's kind of moved away from that. Yep. In recent years, it has become primarily competition show based, or at least that's what we sort of see on the forefront. And as someone who has competed in some of these shows, where do you think the state of the current network is in terms of its approach?
It's a great question. And it's a hot topic right now, right? Whether people are mentioning it or not, a lot of people are, as that chef is, or that host. Those shows still live. Like there's Girl Meets Farm, and there are quite a few other ones that are instructional. The demo shows, I call them, or those shows that are, more demonstrational and recipe driven, not competition driven. They definitely still do exist. I think along with the restaurant industry, food TV has evolved, right? And it's important to evolve because people's palates evolve. Just like I said in Detroit, we go from generalized restaurants now to more specific, like honed in scopes. And the growth of social media platforms and streaming platforms, I think, has affected media as a whole, like, right, not just food TV. So those do exist. And I think, when you go to Food Network Instagram or TikTok or these channels or their streaming platforms, you do find even more of those. But people love a thrill, right? So when they come home from working their 9 to 5 or working their restaurant job, I think the thrill level, the seeking of that thrill has gotten higher. It shows in scary movies now, right? It's not like Freddy versus Jason. It's like some crazy shit. It's some serious stuff. So I think they still do exist, but I give it to Food Network. You have to grow and you have to evolve, and restaurants do too. Otherwise, they die. So, we practice that every day, and you can ask any restaurateur that's the ticket to staying alive. I remember like it was yesterday when Emerald on Emerald Live created BAM, right? That was like a pivotal core moment for me. I was sitting in my grandfather's apartment, and he was a huge driving reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. And, he wasn't your typical grandpa where it was like, oh, let's, go play baseball or something. But if he had to watch us, he was like, let's watch Food Network and let's cook. This is what he loved to do. So that was a Food Network I did fall in love with. And I feel like Food Network's growing with me. It's growing with all of us,
All right, so like sort of looking ahead now, bit of a two-part question.
Okay.
For you professionally in your career with the Food Network, what's next, what's ahead, and then what's next for you and Mike here for Testabara?
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, Oro.
Mm-hmm. God, Jeff with the zingers today, man. So, my vision with Food Network is to continue on this journey. I'll say I always have something cooking or something in my back pocket, and I'll leave it there. But, I'd love to. I do with my husband 150-person cooking classes every month. So the goal would definitely be to hopefully bring that Food Network that you were talking about back, and maybe one day get my own show or do something cool, like judging or hosting. I think that's where my comfort lies. The competitions are fun too, but so that's kind of where my journey is going with Food Network. Journey with the restaurant. Oro is a restaurant within a restaurant we're opening up, and it's something I really hold near. And it's something I really hold near and dear to my heart because I am, Puerto Rican, Latin by heritage. We are doing like a Latin fusion concept in our terrace. And it's not going to be this tacos and tequila bullshit, right? I want it to be so much more and show various types of Latin cuisine, because I think all of it is beautiful and flavorful and vibrant and electric. So Mike and I have been traveling to the Baja for quite some time now, probably 9 years. We've met great chefs, dined at amazing restaurants, both high-end and hole-in-the-wall, right? And we want to bring some of that vibe here because, again, it's so important to continue honing in on a scope you feel passionate about. That's what's going to really drive the culinary scene here to keep growing.
So with Oro and its implementation, when will that be opening up? When can people expect it? And what are some of your favorite aspects about this new endeavor?
Yes. So Oro is going to be open June 7th, and it will be reservation only pretty much Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And what you can get at Oro, you can't get at Testa, and what you can get at Testa, you can't get at Oro, except obviously the J. Baldwin's calamari, because that has been a Detroit staple since Van Dyke Place, and we would not touch that with a 10-foot pole. But you're really going to be encapsulated by like Cali culture, skate life. My husband and I are skateboarders. It's something that we're really passionate about. I have my scooter over here because fractured my foot about 2 weeks ago skateboarding. But that life in motion, food in motion, seasonality is king, locality at best, and sustainability really driving a fun, vibrant menu.
right. Well, last question.
Yes.
I believe way back, almost a year ago now, when I first interviewed you and Mike, I believe I asked you both this question, but I
Oh,
want to
God.
ask you this question again, just to see if your response has evolved
Okay.
as you have. So, Gabriella, what does currently being a chef mean to you?
Oh gosh, I do remember that question. Blast from the past. What does being a chef mean to me? It's a platform to express yourself. It's instant gratification of creating something and seeing a smile on somebody's face, in your dining room, and knowing that you've in some way connected with them. So connection is huge. Cooking and being a chef, the defining factor in between is mentoring, right? Chefs mentor. And I have a lot of young cats here. I always say we're a learning kitchen because I have not one person in that kitchen who is not here because they want it as a career and they want to do this for life, right? Or as long as they can. So, the difference between cooking and being a chef is mentoring, and that's a huge part of what I do and what I love about the job. Inspiring, right? I have young girls who come to my past all the time, and they write me notes and they draw me pictures and say they want to be a chef one day, and that hits me the hardest, right? We have a big responsibility to pass on what we know, mentor, inspire, and to put it all out on the plate. I think that's really what it means to be a chef.